Hey everyone, I'm Angie Miller and I'm the host of Strong Mind, Strong Body. And in my upcoming episode, I talk about the perfection trap and how you're not failing, but your standards might be. How, as we evolve through different seasons in life, we tend to bring those same standards from a prior season with us when really they may no longer apply. And so we get caught up in this perfectionism trap and these expectations, and those are very weighty. So, my guest is Mary Chris LePay. And she is a transformation coach, and she's got some great tips for young moms. And then I'm coming from a place of being a mom who's already raised daughters. And so it's two different seasons in our lives. And again, we deep dive into what it looks like when perfectionism gets in the way. So I hope you'll join me on the episode. And if you enjoy it, please like, follow, subscribe, and leave 5 stars. I'll see you there.
Welcome to Strong Mind, Strong Body, recipient of a Gold Markham Award for Excellence in Podcasting Content. Hosted by licensed therapist and wellness expert Angie Miller, this podcast blends psychology and fitness to help you build resilience and feel your best inside and out.
Hey everyone, welcome to Strong Mind, Strong Body. I'm your host, Angie Miller. And I have a question for you before we even deep dive. Have you ever felt like no matter what you do, it's never enough? Like you're constantly falling short of your expectations? But I think that sometimes the problem actually may not be you. It could be the standards that you're trying to live up to. So as women, especially, I think that we carry an invisible expectation that we need to do it all and we need to do it all well. But when life changes and our standards don't, then I feel like disappointment is inevitable. And so today I'm joined by Mary Chris LePay. She is the owner of Move with Mary Chris. She's a lifestyle transformation coach who specializes in women's fitness, including pre and postnatal care. And what I love is that Mary Chris and I are at such different seasons of our life, and she's navigating motherhood and everything that comes with it. And I'm in a completely different chapter. And even though our lives look different, that pressure to do it all, we have both discovered shows up for both of us. So in this conversation, we're going to unpack what it really means to redefine what is your best and to release the pressure of perfection, and to give yourself permission to show up differently day by day, season by season. So before I go any further, I want to bring in Mary Chris because she is the star of the show here.
Hi, Angie. I'm happy to be here.
I'm so happy you're here. So I know no one would know this, but we are at such different seasons of our life, right? So I love that. I love hearing your season, and I love hearing about the new mommyhood.
Mm-hmm.
And then I secretly go, oh, I'm so glad I'm past that phase. But don't tell anyone.
It's a season for sure, but they say it goes by quick, so I'm taking it in.
It actually really does. And I have a little mic drop for you. Actually, it does, to the point where then your other season is, hey, do you remember I'm here?
Yeah.
So yeah. Remember, I'm mom. I know I don't live there, but you might want to call me. So,
gosh.
Right. There we go. So, yeah. Mary Chris, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do? I know I said some things, but tell me about your business.
Yes. So things are ever changing, but like you said, right now in the season of life, I am happy to be a lifestyle transformation coach. And it's something that it took me a second to recognize what I'm doing based on how I love to work with busy women. And busy women in my community and world are entrepreneurs, corporate professionals, and, it could be stay-at-home moms, hybrid working moms like myself. But, it all started becoming a National Academy of Sports Medicine, certified personal trainer. And just as I went through seasons of life, working with people in different seasons of life, I really just ended up at this point where I realized the impact that I wanted to have was more than just your fitness routine. And the way I go about creating a fitness routine is I've had to simplify things. Like I'm in the season of simplify because it's just too much going on. but I recognize the flexibility that I've been looking to build in my fitness routine also applies to my relationships and also applies to how I work. And that's why I recognize these are all moving pieces, and it's really just about a lifestyle, a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah. Well, and I love that so much because I feel like what I really hear you say is that you're taking your passion and you're giving it purpose. You're taking the lessons that you're learning and you're realizing that the Mary Chris that was in the gym a year ago or 6 months ago is not the one that's showing up in the gym today, because you're leaning into this is a different season. And if I don't change my expectations, I'm going to be disappointed. And that kind of led me to that word expectations. And you and I have talked about this.
Mhm.
And, you know, I feel like expectations are a weight that we carry around. We have these personal expectations of ourselves. And if we don't live up to them, we are disappointed in ourselves or we go into a shame spiral. And then we have these expectations that we put upon others. And if they don't match those expectations, now the resentment, the frustration, and expectations are heavy. And really, it's kind of like your truth is your truth, my truth is my truth.
Mhm.
So my expectations are what they are, but that doesn't mean that you agree with those or that you're going to abide by those because they're mine and I'm putting them on you. So,
Mhm.
how have expectations, whether personal or of other people or both, how have those shown up in your life?
Well, I think there's one thing that I recognized, when I kind of talk about this like high achieving lifestyle that maybe some people are used to. I think if it's something you're used to, it's really kind of hard to take a step back and realize that you've been ingrained in this like kind of reality for a while, that you need to pause and see how it's affecting your everyday. And so to your point, the expectations that we can have with others don't always match up with ours. And there becomes this fight of like, well, why can't they just see it this way?
Mhm.
Because you're not wrong and they're not wrong either.
Yeah.
But you're just like, but mine's more efficient. So again, that's your perspective on it. It's not wrong. But where can we find the balance between it? And so to help diffuse situations, sometimes my husband and I, which it sounds so silly at first, he's like, I'm a 10 on this. Where are you at? And I'm like, ugh, okay, well, I'm a 7 on this. So you get to win and take this one. Or not even win, but it's not that big a deal as maybe I would have made it otherwise. But it's this realization that I have put these expectations on myself. And I think too, getting married a little bit later in life, I feel like at least the conversations that I've had with people, you get so used to a routine and flow. So when someone tries to break that, it's just kind of like, what's happening here? Like, that's not right. This is not going to help me flow and do all the things I can. But enter a kid along with a husband, it's like, there's got to be some give. and and honestly, if I don't change those expectations, or at least find where it resonates, like where it's the most important for me, I'm going to drive myself crazy, and that
Mhm.
resentment is going to sneak in and creep in, and that's just like unneeded stress.
Well, and I first of all, I love that. Where are you? I'm a 10 with this. I'm a 7 with this. I think that's a really good way because it's an emotionally intelligent way of saying this is really important to me. In other words, this aligns with my values. And I need this to go this way because this particular thing is important. And as long as somebody doesn't come in at 10 all the time and everything's always important, right? But I don't hear that. But what I really hear you say is when it comes to expectations, yeah, we carry around this weight of it where we put it on ourselves and other people. But like you said, if we don't adapt our expectations or our standards of what we think our life should be as we go through different seasons, we have so much self-created stress. And when I titled this podcast, I called it the perfection trap, right? You're not feeling, but your standards are. So it's that idea that we go through, you're in this different season, I'm in a different season. If I don't adjust my expectations to my season, if I don't realize, hey, my girls are grown, they're not going to call me and need me every day. I'm going to put these expectations on them to be dependent on me.
Mm-hmm.
And you're saying you're doing the same with your husband if you don't adjust, right?
Yeah. And that's, I really love the title of this too, because it's the fact that it's this standard. It's a standard that we get to create. So that's the blessing and joy of it, is you get to adjust it and redefine it constantly. Because I think that's something that I've realized as we're creating, say 10 years ago, I could create this fitness routine, or in college when I'm, playing volleyball, it's like, hey, we have practice every day, 3 to 5, and that's it. And I get to rinse and repeat, and I know what's going on for the next 3 months. Then comes a season, I'm like, all right, I'm, in my job now, and now I have to move my workouts to the morning, but I know I can do this Monday through Thursday. Now I'm in a season of life where I couldn't tell you what's going on a month from now.
Yeah.
But I have simplified it. And I tell people, I tell them, just look at the week. If that is all you can manage and that feels less stressful, that's where you should be. And, I was even talking about fitness routines the other day. I think for years you'd see don't skip a Monday. Don't skip a Monday. It sets your week.
Yeah.
But look, not everybody starts work on a Monday. Okay. And then also, if you're someone who knows yourself, like for me, I'm like a workaholic. I do not like my workflow broken up.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe your workout, we'll just throw a random calendar. It starts on a Saturday because that's more of a release day. And then you do a Sunday. And then maybe you do a Monday because all the emails haven't come in and because you're easily overwhelmed. Create your flow. It's, I think, understanding who you are and knowing that it's okay to be who you are. And you're likely in a place that you want to be because you're working to get towards the next step of whatever it is. So
Right.
when you're in it, now that it's here, just adjust. Nobody said you had to stay rigid. And that's, again, the expectations that sometimes we put on ourselves that we don't realize. And we want to find the perfect fix before we make the next move. But it's kind of like me starting my fitness app. I was like, oh, I used to have an editor. God, that'd be so nice. I want to pump this out. And I had to say, what's more important, having the whole team or getting out and doing it slowly? And I said, okay, what's important for you, Mary Chris, is to figure out, do you actually still enjoy filming workouts? Let's find out. And I was like, can I do it if I was just by myself, if I had to be the one woman team for a while? And I said, you're going to film workouts. And I had to flip that switch because I've been on set before and I shoot 8-10 workouts in a day. And so I try to block out these days. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it. That baby is not letting me shoot 8 to 10 hours a day. And I said, hey, Mary Chris, how about we simplify this? You need a workout for your health anyways. Why don't you just shoot one workout a day like you do a workout routine? And all of a sudden it's like, oh, I can only get 4 workouts, but I'm actually more ahead now versus waiting for the day that I can shoot 8 to 10
Right.
workouts. So you have to pause and say, hey, wait. You're being crazy with yourself. Is there actually something I can do here? And what is that one thing that's going to move me forward? No matter what space you're looking at.
Well, and I heard you unpack a lot there. It's the idea that, again, going back to the expectations and saying, I used to expect that I would have an editor and everything would basically be perfect. And before anything would be released, go back to the word perfection, they would get it edited to where it was absolutely, publishing ready. And then you said, hey, what's more important is that I go live and I offer this content. Perfection doesn't matter. And if you think about it, the season of your life that you're in, you're recognizing the perfection is actually holding you back. Perfection is not propelling you forward. Mm-hmm. It's that idea that things have to be a certain way that's keeping us stuck. And that's
Mhm.
really what perfection is in a nutshell. It's this idea that if it's not perfect, it can't be.
Mhm.
And so this is where a lot of the P words come in. People procrastinate
Mhm.
because they get stuck in perfectionism. And so their mind says, well, if I can't get it perfect, I don't even want to do it, or I'm not even going to get started, or it's the idea that it has to be perfect
Mhm.
that gets in your psyche. And so you can't even start because it's crippling to think, oh my gosh, I have to get this right. And,
Yeah.
perfectionism is crippling and it comes with a tremendous amount of stress.
Mhm. And it's thinking about, like you said, this idea of how you need to show up, right? And I think there's this space that we're finally getting into with social media where, Instagram first started off as this place you posted photos, and then they realized you could make money, and then they become the influencers, and then it became this pretty production. And now we're starting to peel back where everyone's like, all right, y'all, I am tired. The life is not this perfect. How can we make this more real? And that's where people are starting to lean into more. And I'm thankful for it. And I know too, having been this coach, like for Nike and Center and Fabletics, it's like I have always been this strong trainer. And then here comes my app where I need to shoot these workouts. And I'm like, I can't do those push-ups I used to do. I would sit there and I'm like, do I program a push-up? And I said, wait, is it actually more serving to just serve where you're at? Because someone's likely going to be where you're at and you can talk through that in the video. And so I'd be like, hey, I'm still trying to get my core together. If you feel good, you're up here. Otherwise, you're down here with me. Like, but I would have to wait till I heal. But why am I going to put that pressure on myself for what I just did by birthing an amazing son? I need to honor where I'm at. And especially being a pre-postnatal coach, that's a disservice to what I'm trying to preach. So there's so much value in the real and just honoring your busy seasons. It gives you a moment to breathe and
Yeah.
know it's okay. And it also allows people to know that it's like we're in a phase where I think we're slowly starting to find ways to give permission. And as someone like me who's so used to following the rules and doing things the right way, however I've defined it,
Mhm.
it's when I feel or see that permission that just lets me relax and helps me see other perspectives or other ways that things can be done.
Well, and for sure. And personally, I think you're on the right page. I think that as women, when we meet women where they're at and we don't put it out there that it's the best of episode, and you kind of mentioned how Instagram's transitioning into like these front facing videos where people are just talking into the camera and being very authentic. And to me, that speaks to me way more
Mhm.
than this idea of perfection and this perfect filming or this perfect picture. And I think what I hear us both say is that we've both met the woman that we thought we were supposed to be.
Mhm.
And we've met this woman who feels like we're falling short of the woman that we thought we were supposed to be. And then we have this little reckoning with ourselves and say, but who put that expectation on me? Did I do it or did someone else do it? And
Mhm.
it's that reckoning period where we kind of have to come to terms with, um, you know, what goes along with that too is we were kind of talking about like this sort of, it's not the most positive word, but the sort of martyrdom that we get into,
Mhm.
like, I have to do it all. And I'm always the one who has to do this with the kids. And I'm always the one who has to do that. And yet I still have a job and I do this and I do that. And how much of that is self-fulfilling that we chose, that we feel like it has to be done our way or it can't be? And how much of that is accurate?
Mhm.
That we are putting ourselves in that position to put on our cape and fix, save, and rescue. What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I get it. Like I love to be the one that gets things done, especially when I know I can do it. Right. And I think that's where the struggle starts to happen in different seasons as we start to have more time with family and higher responsibilities at work. It's like at one point you could do it all. and you want to remain to do that. But the things that are coming into our lives are more important and require more of our time and energy and heart. And it's having to find a way to just release release the responsibilities to make sure you're also taking care of yourself at the same time. And I know I'll have to check myself from time to time too. Resentment is like the big thing that starts to creep up for me, where I know something's not going right here. And it's typically because I'm not able to do something for me that's important in this season of life. And I think it's a reminder to just know that you can ebb and flow between your responsibilities, or when something's becoming more and more important. But, when you're in a space where you are fortunate to have a say of what you can and can't do, it's important to recognize when you're putting things on yourself and someone's not doing that. So like in my instance of having a very supportive partner, if someone's asking me like, well, is he just giving you crap about it? And I was like, no, he's not. So it's like, oh, that's a me check. And again, it's nothing wrong. It's just like, ooh, that's like a flag for me where I need to reset and recognize that I do have a lot of the support that I want and need. But it's important for me to identify it so others can continue to see what's important to me in this season.
Yeah. Well, for sure. And also, like you and I have also talked about how getting an outside perspective, like a perspective of a therapist or a good friend or a coach that says, hey, this is what's going on. And just somebody who can help us see it through a different lens and say, how much of that is coming from other people and how much of that is coming from you. And again, I think we carry around these expectations. We know what our life used to look like. We know what we thought our life was going to look like. Well, I'm going to have a baby and this is going to happen and this is going to happen and this is going to happen. And then you have that baby and it's like, oh yeah, none of that happened the way that I thought it was. Or, again, the kids go away and you think, oh, did they forget I raised them? And all of a sudden you realize that so much of this is coming from what I want from other people or what I'm expecting versus what really matters. What matters to me really is that my daughters are living their best lives.
Yeah.
Not that they're checking in with me every day. And what matters to you is that you have time with your son. And that matters more than, am I getting my gym workouts in the way that I did a year ago, right?
Yeah. And there's such a beauty to, when we have these certain expectations, I think they line up with goals that we have for ourselves, that gets us to move to a place. But it's like, once we arrive at the destination, to your point, like it may look different, but that's okay. And I don't know why this kind of came to mind, but one thing I love to do is travel, and I am the itinerary person for our family. But what's really important to me is I love to have the big tourist things that you can't miss out. I love to have maybe something local, like a local suggestion. And then I have the off days where I just get to see what happens. Like, maybe we choose an area and we just float about it and see what's going on. And a lot of the inspiration and clarity, I think, comes from the days that aren't always planned, but you just have a general idea of like what direction you want to go. And so I think sometimes if we just take that expectation of what something needs to look like when we get there, for me, it's like, am I going to be mad that my son's not walking right now? Like, no, like things change and ebb and flow. And there's beautiful ways that someone's developing. There's, timeframes that we learn certain things. It just, we can't control everything. And it just allows you to take a breath. And I think when we can just own saying we don't know what's next, or I'll just wait for what it is. I think there's a lot of different ways to look at it. I know for myself, before, if someone asked me, what's going on, like, can you meet this day? And I'll look at my calendar and I'm just like, oh, I just don't really know yet, but I feel like I have to give them an answer. And now I'll just say, can you actually check in with me that week? I just can't process this right now. And they're like, okay. So I already just took that load off. Whereas it's something I did not want to do before. And for thinking about like education, I graduated early. I got my master's at 22, and, I went to USC, pretty prestigious like school, and I was bartending and I was there, and I know people would be like, what are you doing next? And I think like, oh God, I got to say like, I'm going to work at this job, when really I just wanted to model and see what that space was. And I finally like got the courage to say like, oh, like at some point down the line, I actually think I'm going to look into personal training, something completely different than what I got my degree in. And I want to do this or that. And when you say it though, it's like, oh, okay, that's cool. And you're like, oh, okay, that is cool. Why did I make that so hard on myself? Just owning that you don't know something or you want to see where it goes is, I think, such a great gift that you can give to yourself, and a skill, honestly, to not feel that pressure, because people are going to seem like they have it going on and it's all together, but everybody has their different issues. They have different things that come up. But I think the resilience of how you handle something is actually what's more important to help you navigate it all.
And the word that comes to my mind, because really those days that you're on vacation, you don't have an agenda. You're just curious about what you might see or do. And so when you say you don't have to have it all together, you may not even know what the next thing is. You're just inviting curiosity of, I'm not trying to control outcomes, because perfectionism, again, is tied into, I'm going to procrastinate. Perfectionism is, I want to control outcomes. If I'm going to do it, I need to get it perfect. Everybody needs to give me accolades. And what we're really saying is, what if the opposing side of that is curiosity? I'm going to get curious about, I'm not sure what I'm going to do next, but I know that as I go through and I invite more things into my world, I'm going to come up with solutions and ideas, which really is how you're transitioning your business. You started getting curious about, how do I best serve and still stay aligned with my values? And once you started getting curious, that plan came to be. And you're not trying to control all the outcomes. You're trying to put content out there, trying to find your audience, and then it will flow as it was meant to, versus I need to know this, and this before I do anything.
And I honestly love the way you said that, like, invite curiosity, because I think it applies in so many different ways. If we're talking about the fitness route of it, when there's days that I'm not feeling motivated or feeling some type of way, I'm just like, let me just do something for 5 minutes, that I enjoy. Okay. I love core. Let me start with that. And that always ends up being the best workout. And I end up working out for like an hour, because I just wanted to invite the feeling of feeling better through movement. And so that's the way that I love to coach women as well, is I don't want you to feel like you have to hit this certain type of workout. I want you to just do what feels good for your day. Like, just see how it feels. Don't put any pressure on that. And I think that's what also motivated the way when I do my fitness events, where, I say it's move and play, is, I'll do silly things like rock, paper, scissors, and then that determines your move. And, we'll just do kind of like a Simon Says, Coach Says. And people work so much harder when they're just playing, versus this expectation of like, oh my gosh, I'm in this class. Okay, I need to be the fastest one, or whatever it is. It's just like, oh my gosh, let me see what I can do. It just becomes fun. And that's what leads to the habits. And we just need to take a step back and relax a little bit. Like, it's not that serious. If you put effort into something, it's bound to get better. It's when we don't do anything, like, nothing's going to happen. You're not going to know if you like something or not unless you try it. Like, that's my point. Am I going to think through this, or can I just experience it and find out quicker? Like,
well, am I going to ruminate, and am I going to get stuck? And again, perfectionism has kept me stuck for so long. And I know it's kept you stuck. And I think it's when we both, through different evolutions of our lives, learn to let go and say, I can't control all the outcomes, but I do know what I am doing. I'm causing more stress for myself, and I'm keeping myself in quicksand, because I'm not willing to move, because I think I have to have it all figured out. And that's just never going to be the case. And you and I talked about how I think that as I go through life, my camera lens gets longer and it gets wider, and I see life differently because I've had more years of experience, and I'm not right in the heart of something where my lens is so narrow. I'm not like the who needs to make a split decision and my lens is right here. I
Mm-hmm.
can look out now and see things from a bigger perspective and go, yeah, it's when I was curious. It's when I let go of expectations. It's when I stopped trying to be perfect that my life seemed to flow the best and that I was able to honor my needs as much as the needs of the people around me. So that
Mm-hmm.
would be my takeaway for everyone listening. Do you have kind of a takeaway? Like if there's a woman right now who's listening and she's exhausted and
Mm-hmm.
she's trying to meet a standard that was really never built for the season that she's in,
Mm-hmm.
what would you say to her?
I think honestly, just have some empathy for yourself. We do a lot that we don't really recognize, which I think is really important to point out. We provide a lot of value without realizing it. Um, so if I can try to explain it clearly, if I'm talking about, work, for example, for the women that might be like workaholics, you're always, when there's a task that needs to be done, you're always going to figure out how to do it to the best of your ability. That will not change. So knowing that about yourself, it's a great thing, and there's nothing wrong with you. It's perfectly fine. So when I am talking to women when they're trying to figure out how to like bring their health into priority, for example, it's like, let's work on making that a habit because we know that's going to energize you and fill you up. And it's just something we have to work on. Nobody says you have to get it perfect, but if you finish a day doing your workout, however long it is, you're going to finish all your stressful tasks or whatever was required about work. But if you don't take care of yourself, now sometimes you feel more stressed because you're like, I've just gone through this cycle of work and it's not done and I'm doing all this stuff and I didn't take care of myself. So I think it's just important, recognize who you are. It's great to know who you are. And there is a way to ebb and flow in this lifestyle that you've asked for with yourself. There's always a way to navigate it, and you are 100% a priority, and your values are your values, and they don't have to meet anyone else's at all. Just and it gets to change by season. It doesn't change who you are. There doesn't have to be a massive identity shift and announcement to it.
Yeah.
It is who you are, and you stand in it, and everyone's going to rock with you or they're not. And that's why people come and go in seasons as well. So you're doing great. Just figure out what's the priority for you in the season and keep scaling it down until it feels doable for you. And that's going to just help you just feel better about where you're at.
Yeah. Find that sweet spot of something that
Mm-hmm.
feels like you can accomplish what you want to accomplish, but you're not losing sight of you.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if there's one thing I want everyone to take from this is that you're not failing. Your life has changed. And when our life changes, our standards are allowed to change with it. When my mom was really, really sick, I wasn't exercising the way that I normally do. There were times when my girls were growing up when it felt like fitness, what's fitness? And so there are times where my pie, if you will, of my values, I have to slice it differently. And sometimes fitness is a bigger pie. Sometimes family's a bigger pie. But, your best is not a fixed target. It's something that moves with you, it grows with you, and it meets you where you are. So I hope this is your permission to not be perfect and to release the pressure of trying to do it all and trust that what you're doing right now is enough. So I want to, real quick, Mary Chris, if they want to reach you, how would they reach you before we sign off?
Absolutely. The best way you can find me is on Instagram at Mary Chris LePay, just like it's spelled. And if you want to look into the movement a little bit more, Move with Mary Chris on YouTube.
Okay, wonderful. So Mary Chris, thank you for being here. And thanks to all of our Strong Mind, Strong Body listeners. I will see you next time.
Thanks for spending time with Strong Mind, Strong Body. Angie will be back with more tools to help you feel strong and centered. Like, share, and subscribe.